don your tallest thinking cap for our pick of the best games like Age of Empires. If you love real-time strategy, then you are most likely a fan of the Age of Empires series, which means, of course, then you know the answer to the most pressing question: which is better, Age of Empires 2 or 3? The answer is Empire Earth. Or Rise of Nations? Perhaps it's one of the other entries on this list, or perhaps we left one out. What's your favorite? Tell us in the comments below, and while you're there, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep up with all things Logitech G. There is no way we couldn't include Age of Mythology in this lineup. While it is very much part of the Age of Empires series, it is also very much its own game. For a start, it has minotaurs and krakens and all manner of gods and mythical creatures cribbed from the 5 playable civilizations' mythologies. This means that its civilizations play more distinctly from one another than those in its sister games. In the campaign, you play as Arkantos, an admiral from Atlantis searching for the dastardly Cyclops warlord Gargarensis. There are 32 maps in the base game and 2 expansions. The first, Titans, sees Arkantos return at the behest of Athena to stop Poseidon's plan to use Gargarensis to aid in his plan to kill his brother Zeus and take the throne in Olympus. Some classic mythological drama. The second of which was released in 2016, 14 years after the base game. So love for this game has lasted decades. Eros would be proud. Originally planned as a mod for Age of Empires 2, Zero AD developers Wildfire Games decided that their game deserved to stand on its own. There's no campaign, although there are plans to make one. Zero AD is an open source title and therefore will likely take a lot longer to reach completion. Right now though, you have a deep multiplayer game that you can play with up to 6 of your fellow humans or robot friends. The default AI, by the way, is not a pushover, even on very easy. It has a habit of showing up on your doorstep and breaking your stuff while you wail and gnash your teeth. But once you get that first victory, hint, build towers. Oh, you won't need caffeine or sugar for the rest of the day. The maps are gorgeous and there are loads of mods. Try the Hyrule Conquest mod if Breath of the Wild 2 coming in 2022 is still too far away. Company of Heroes 2 is quite different from the other titles on our list, focusing as it does on a more recent time in history and on combat. There's no city building to speak of. Set during the Eastern Front in World War II, you play as one of 5 factions tasked with defeating your enemies by producing units, building trenches, mines, and capturing strategic resources. The game looks terrific even now. There are few games that look this visceral, and few RTSs that interweave story and gameplay so well. There's tons to do, even without going to the still active multiplayer. Theatre of War, introduced in Company of Heroes 2, allows you to play a series of co-op and single-player missions as both the German and Soviet factions in the Eastern Front campaign. But please, for the love of God, please be careful when you're laying mines with wild abandon.
Approach the impossible.
If you love complexity in your RTSs, you'll love The Settlers. Though the games have changed quite a lot over the years, with some, notably 7, being considered streamlined, all share a great focus on the city building economical aspect. As there are so many titles, you might be stumped on which one to start on, but fear not. The storyline of each of the games is unique, so you won't be missing out if you skipped a title in between. But since this list is about titles similar to Age of Empires, then The Settlers 2 might be your best bet, as it focuses on real-time strategy and team-building elements. There's also The Settlers Online, for anyone that appreciates in-browser online titles, and there's mobile and handheld versions to suit whatever platform that works best for you. Really, you have so many titles to choose from in the franchise, so get to it! Empire Earth is definitely one of the best series on this list. Some would argue that it is even more detailed and jam-packed than Age of Empires, and we hate to say it, but that some might just be right. The original has 21 civilizations to play as and 4 campaigns. As with other RTSs, you set up your city, collect resources, and build military, civic, and economic structures, covering empires through to modern times, with Germany, for example, going up to 1940 and using modern technology and an interesting realization of Russia. In Empire Earth, you start in the Stone Age and advance through 15 epochs into the future. Both Empire 1 and 2 are must-plays, but we recommend starting with 2, the Gold Edition. Be sure though to download the community-made unofficial 1.5 patch, which, in addition to giving you a proper 1080p resolution, has a picture of Megan Fox as the Mona Lisa in its installer. Rise of Nations is developed by Big Huge Games, led by the legendary Brian Reynolds. It's another ambitious one, spanning 6,000 years and 8 ages, beginning in the Ancient Age and ending in the Information. It charts its own path. Resources are infinite and you mine them semi-automatically. That doesn't mean the game's economy is simple though, but it does mean that this RTS might be for you if you prefer the big picture over micromanagement. The game is very much about expanding your territory. Attacking into enemy territory causes your units to suffer attribution damage, as if their path is strewn with Lego bricks. Of course, the same thing happens to your enemies, meaning games don't end early and battles end up huge and epic. Nowadays, you'll want to play the Extended Edition, which is much like the first iteration of the game, just with improved graphics and a matchmaking system. Because why build an empire if you're not going to destroy another? The newest title on our list, Northgard, is an RTS based on Norse mythology. There are 6 clans to choose from, plus extras to get via DLC, each with differences that impact how they feel to play. But Northgard does quite a few things differently. You don't produce units from buildings in the usual way. Instead, villagers spawn periodically from your town hall at a rate determined by your clan's happiness. Then you convert them to more specific unit types, after which they get on with things without you breathing down their necks. Another difference is the inspiration it takes from survival games. Winter in Northgard is serious business. Food production is lowered and wood consumption is increased, and your men can hardly swing their swords, they're shivering so much. You're not forced to butcher your foes in Northgard either. Similarly to Civilization, you can aim for one of 4 victory types. An interesting, pretty modern take on RTS. Does Starcraft II really require an introduction? It's only one of the biggest competitive titles in gaming history. Simpler economically than many of the titles covered, Starcraft's defining feature is its speed. Well, that and its asymmetrical balance. Its 3 races play differently enough to each other that playing another feels like a new game. Starcraft II is famous for its difficulty, mostly because of its speed and complicated reasons.
Mineral field depleted.
The long and short of it is your units die very quickly if surprised or mismanaged. Because of this, many people prefer to watch and not play themselves, and that's not a bad choice. Starcraft II is one of the world's most respected esports scenes. But you don't have to play competitively. Starcraft II has an excellent campaign mode and 2 expansions. There's also the very popular PvE co-op mode and approximately 1 million silly custom maps. So those are the best games like Age of Empires. Drop a comment below on which game you plan to dive into first, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more great videos and to keep up with all things Logitech G. Until next time!